Hi, welcome to Santosha Rose. My name's Sam, and today we're going to be doing yoga for flexibility. I'm excited to share it with you. See you on the mat. We're going to start the practice today in a comfortable seated position. So you've got a couple of options here. You can either sit just cross-legged in the more sort of traditional way. You can bring the two ankles in line with each other, sending the knees out wide, having ankles in a straight line. Maybe have a bit of a play, see which one feels good for your body. And we're going to settle in, whichever posture you've chosen to start with, bringing some attention and awareness into our spine. So imagining that you're being lifted up through the crown of your head, having that sensation of lift, of rise. This is really challenging. You can get a cushion or a block or something and just kind of sit on that, and it lifts up your hips, and that makes it a little bit easier to find that straightness. So listen to your body, see what feels good for you today. So you have that sense of lift up through the spine, relaxation through the shoulders, and checking your neck, your jaw. Can you take any tension? Maybe give your jaw a little bit of a wiggle. And just taking a couple of breaths here. And we're going to take the neck over, so taking the ear over towards the right shoulder, and making sure here that you're not bringing the shoulder up to the ear. So keeping the shoulders really low, tipping the head over to the right hand side. You can take your right hand and just gently rest it on top of your left ear. And if you want to have a little bit more stretch, you can take the left fingers out, maybe touching the mat, maybe hovering just above it. So we're not straining, we're not pressing here, just a very gentle amount of pressure, and feeling that stretch all the way through your neck, into your shoulder, into that left shoulder. And we're just going to breathe here, so using the breath to go to any places that feel tight, that feel stiff. And then releasing with the right hand, we're going to bring the head back up to neutral and then take it over to the left hand side. So again, we can take the left hand this time, bringing it onto the right ear, very, very gentle amount of pressure, and maybe stretching out through that right arm, either onto the mat or hovering just above it. And we're going to breathe. Just feeling that sense of stretch, that sense of release in your neck. And then releasing with the left hand, we're going to bring the head back up to neutral. And we're going to change the cross of our legs. So maybe bringing the other ankle in front, or switching so that you're cross-legged in the other direction. Fabulous. Okay, bringing your hands to your knees. You're going to lift the chest up towards the ceiling. So bringing the shoulders back a little bit, lifting up through the chest, and keeping that sense of lift now for the next little bit of time. I'm going to bring the head down, bringing the chin towards the chest, keeping that sense of lift, feeling that stretch in the back of the neck, and then bringing the head up, looking up towards the ceiling. So doing this nice and slowly, nice and gently. And then bringing the head back down, bring the chin in towards the chest. And then lifting up, slowly raising the gaze up towards the ceiling. And then bringing it back down, chin into the chest. And this time allowing your whole back to curl in as you bring your head down. So you're in that cat posture in reverse. And notice if you've got any tension in your shoulders, can you release that tension so that you're curling through the back, chin in towards the chest, but relaxed arms, relaxed shoulders. And just taking a breath here. And then very slowly we're going to stack the spine back into a straight line. So allowing that uncurling to happen slowly, grounding down through your sitting bones, feeling the spine getting straight, lifting the head back up into a neutral position. Fabulous. Maybe taking a couple of nice shoulder circles, going backwards, maybe a couple of times, and forwards a couple of times. Fabulous. Okay, you're gonna come into an easy pose. So how this works with your legs is you want your legs to be kind of parallel towards each other. So it's not super tight into the body. Feet kind of just about in line with the opposite knee, if that works for your body, and having a little bit of gap between the legs and a gap away from your body. And we're going to reach up. So doing it for the first time with the left foot in front, we're going to reach the arms up to the ceiling, feeling that stretch through the side body. And then we're going to fold forward. So keeping both sitting bones on the floor. And it might be that you just come to kind of fingertips on the floor here. Maybe you can bring your palms down, maybe even coming down to the elbows. And you'll feel this stretch in the left glute. And we're just going to breathe into the stretch for a few rounds of breath here. So inhaling and exhaling, maybe finding a little bit more space, a little bit more release on that exhale. And this one can be a little bit intense, so just stick with it. You're doing really well. I'm going to do one more cycle of breath here. And then slowly walking the hands back up. And come back up to an upright position, reaching both arms up again. And we're going to take a twist over to the left hand side. So left hand coming behind, right hand coming onto left knee. And we can use the breath again here. So inhale, lifting up. Exhale, maybe finding that little bit more twist. And then we're going to inhale back to center. We're going to swap the legs over. So bringing the right leg in front this time. Still with that sort of parallel lines on the legs, feet kind of in line with the knees. And we're going to inhale, reaching up. And you might already be able to feel that in the glute. That's no problem. And then exhale, we're going to lean forward and just coming to where is good for your body. So maybe it's fingertips, maybe it's the palms of the hands, maybe it's even coming down onto elbows. If you're super flexible, maybe even your forehead will come down here. I don't think mine will. And just taking those breaths. So inhaling and maybe exhaling, sending the exhale into any places that feel tight. And taking one more cycle of breath here. And then we're slowly going to come up. And then releasing the legs. We're going to bring the feet together. So coming into a butterfly posture here. And we're just going to leave the legs, let gravity work on the legs. So soles of the feet together, knees coming out to the side. Don't necessarily be thinking you're trying to push or you're trying to do anything. Just letting gravity work on the hips here. I'm going to reach the arms in front. I'm going to do some wrist rotations. So just taking some nice circles in the wrists, keeping that sense of lift up through the spine, and allowing gravity to work on the hip flexors, on maybe opening up a little bit in the hips. Bringing your attention to your wrists. Can you keep your arms completely still? So we're really isolating the movement just in the wrist there. And then taking those circles in the other direction. And notice the temptation to maybe speed up, get as many circles in as we can. See if you can resist that. Fabulous. Okay, bringing the arms down. You're going to lift the knees in using the hands. Bring the knees back into each other. And then we're going to send the legs out straight. It's coming into a staff pose here. So, it's quite an engaged posture here. So you want to have that same sense of lift up through the spine. So nice straight spine, lifting up through the crown of the head. Legs out straight in front. If they don't go completely straight, you can take a little micro bend in the knees. That's no problem at all. You want to have a little bit of a gap between the legs so we're not squeezing them together here. But being active in the legs, active in the feet, toes coming towards the face. So maybe just resting your hands on your knees, on your thighs here, and then take a couple of cycles of breath. And just being aware of all the parts of the body that are engaged in this posture. And we're going to take some movement with the ankles here. So pointing the feet away and then flexing the feet back in towards your face. And syncing that up with the breath. So inhaling as you point away, exhaling as we flex back in. And just carrying on with that in time to your own breath. And notice what's going on with the spine here. If you kept that sense of lift, sometimes when we start doing something, we maybe start to kind of collapse down a little bit. See if you can keep that sense of lift. I'm going to take some circles in the ankles now. And similarly to the wrist, see if you can do the circles, keeping the legs completely still. So we're just isolating the movement into the ankles and then taking those circles in the other direction. Fabulous. Okay, we're going to bring the right knee in, give it a little bit of a squeeze in initially, and then we're going to put it down on the floor and take the knee out to the side. So the right foot is coming in towards the left, either the left inner thigh or maybe kind of where the left knee is. And keep that sense of engagement through the left leg. So flexing the toes, nice active leg. I'm going to reach both arms up to the ceiling, feeling that sense of reaching the spine first before we fold forward over the leg. So folding forward and see where you get to here. Maybe you might be at the knee, shin. Maybe you can reach all the way down to your foot. This is definitely the kind of thing that with more and more practice and more regular yoga, you'll find it just gets easier and easier. And the amount of flexibility you'll have in your legs will really improve. But it's fine wherever you are right now. So we're going to use the breath in here to inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, maybe finding that little bit more forward fold. And one more breath here. And see if you can find that fold. And then we're going to come slowly, bring the hands up the legs, uncurling the spine gently. And just taking the left hand behind and just doing a little twist to the left hand side. And then coming back to the center, going to bring that knee back in first so it's pointing up to the ceiling, then send it out straight and just take a little shake up and down and side to side in the legs. Fabulous. Okay, I'm going to bring the left knee in this time, so giving it a little squeeze and then placing it on the floor. We're going to take the knee out to the side so the foot's coming in towards the right leg. Flexing through the right toes, having that real sense of engagement through the leg. We're going to reach the arms up, stretching up through the spine, and then that sense of up and over, coming over this leg. So reaching forward, and again, wherever you get to on this leg, that's absolutely fine for your practice today. And we're going to use the breath here again. So inhaling, lengthening through the spine, exhaling, finding that little bit more fold, and doing that with a couple more cycles of breath. Now one more full breath here, using that breath to lengthen the spine on the inhale and find that fold on the exhale. And then we're going to slowly come up, uncurling through the spine, and then just taking the right hand behind and taking that little twist over to the right. Fabulous. Okay, bringing that left knee up towards the ceiling first, then sending it out long. We're going to do a little bit of shape, up and down, side to side. Fabulous. Okay, you're going to have both legs stretched out this time. So heels potentially lifting off the ground, toes coming towards your body. Keeping that sense of lift, we're going to rise up with the arms reaching up, and then we're going to go up and over into a two-legged forward fold. So having that same sense of keeping the spine nice and long. So we're not curling in here, we're reaching, we're finding as much length as we can. And using the breath. So inhaling, lengthening through the spine, exhaling, finding that fold. And one more full cycle of breath. Inhaling, lengthen, exhaling, fold. And then slowly bring the hands up the legs. And we're going to take a cross at the ankles, crossing the legs in to reach up and over, coming into a tabletop position. So checking your alignment here, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees, knees about hip width apart. I'm going to have that sense of engagement through the core, feeling a sense of balance across both hands, both knees, and I'm going to lift up the left leg out to the side. So keeping it bent, imagine that you're a dog on a lamppost and we're really engaging through those glutes, and we're going to hold it here for 5, 4, 3, don't worry if you're shaking a little bit, 2, and 1. Well done, bringing that back in and feeling that sense of balance again across the 4 corners. And I'm going to lift on the other side, so lifting the right knee out to the side, using those glute muscles, and we're going to hold 5, 4, 3, 2, and nearly there, and 1, bringing it back in and sending the hips back towards the heels into an extended child's pose. So reaching out here, maybe bringing the head down towards the mat. The head doesn't reach, you can stack your hands, maybe your fists, and just find a position here that feels comfortable for your body. We're going to take a couple of resting breaths here. And just noticing how your body's feeling. And reaching the arms back out if you've brought them in. We're going to come back up to that tabletop position. And this time we're going to take the hands a little bit further in front. So we don't have the alignment now between the wrists and the shoulders. That's okay. We're going to tuck the toes and lift the knees up off the floor just a couple of inches. So just hovering there through the knees and just feeling that sense of engagement in the core muscles, holding that hover. And then we're going to straighten out the legs, bring the shoulders back over the wrists into a plank posture. So shoulders in a straight line over the wrists, straight line down from your head all the way to your heels. Tummy muscles engaged, engaging through the core. And then we're going to go back into that hovering. So bending the legs, letting the shoulders come back a little bit and just hovering the knees a couple of inches off the floor. Keeping that engagement through the core. You can push into your fingers to take some of the pressure out of your wrists here. And we're just going to hold. And then we're going to take the hips up into a downward facing dog. So maybe pedaling out in this downward facing dog today. Bending and straightening one leg then the other. Having a little bit of movement in the spine. Planting down through the hands. Nice wide fingers still. And just see what feels good here. You can come up onto your tiptoes, bending your knees a little bit, and then pressing the hips up towards the ceiling. And then planting down through the left leg, we're going to lift the right leg up to the ceiling and opening up in that hip. So opening, trying to get the right knee pointing up towards the ceiling. And then keeping that leg bent, we're going to bring it forward into a lunge. So you might do that in one step. That might take a couple of steps to bring the right foot in between the hands. And we're going to bring the left knee onto the floor, untucking the left toes into a low lunge here. It's going to reach both arms up to the ceiling. And then bringing the hands back down, we're going to come onto the inside. So taking that right foot out a little bit, just kind of towards the right edge of your mat. And bringing the hands, now they might be just on fingertips here. They might be able to come flat down to the floor. So see what works for your body. If actually getting your hands to the floor at all is difficult, you can get like a book or a block or something that can kind of help with that. If this posture is feeling quite easy and it's not feeling like it's too much of a stretch, you can actually come down onto your elbows. This is a lizard posture. Now we're just going to take a couple of cycles of breath here. So wherever you are, whether it's fingertips, palms on the floor, or down to the elbows, it's feeling that sense of stretch through the hips. And using the breath, so sending the breath to any places that feel tight. And then if you're on your elbows, making your way back up to your hands. And we're going to take the right hand onto the outside, moving the foot back in. So we're back into that more traditional low lunge position. And then bringing the right toes back up off the floor. You're going to fold forward into that runner's lunge. So feeling that stretch all the way through the right leg, toes coming up towards the ceiling. Your intention here is chin to shin. So feeling that sense of length. And then releasing from the stretch, we're going to plant the left hand down on the floor and reach the right arm up to the ceiling. So opening up, feeling that stretch all the way up the right leg into the right glute, allowing your gaze to go up to your fingertips, and you can use the top of the left foot that's on the floor to help with the balance here. And then bringing that hand back down, going to bend the right knee, lifting up initially for a second, and then bringing the hands down towards the floor, so down by the sides, hands coming down so your fingertips are pointing towards the floor, palms open in front of you and opening up through the shoulder and through the chest. And then planting the hand back on either side of the foot, you're going to tuck the left toe, lift the left knee, send the right leg back up into downward facing dog. And notice how the second one feels. Is there a little bit more ease, maybe a little bit more stretch in the legs? Maybe there isn't, and that's okay too. And planting down through the right foot, we're going to lift the left leg this time, reaching it up to the ceiling, then opening up in that left hip, bending the leg and lifting the left knee up towards the ceiling. And then keeping that leg bent, we're going to step it through, in between the hands, bringing the right knee down, untucking the right toe, and we're going to lift up into that crescent moon position, palms facing in towards each other, allowing your gaze to be between your hands. And then bringing the hands down, we're going to take the left foot to the outer edge of the mat, bringing the hands down onto the inside here. And again, choose the position that's going to be right for your body. So maybe you're just on fingertips here and that feels like that's enough. Maybe onto flat palms, that's feeling quite easy, then you can come down onto elbows. So choose the right position for your body, and we're going to take a few breaths here. And allowing the breath to go to any places that feel tight, that feel tense. And one more breath. And if you're on your elbows, start making your way back up. And then we're going to bring the foot back into the center, hands onto either side, and then pulling that left toes off the floor, straightening through the left leg, and we're going to fold forward into that runner's lunge. So that intention, chin to shin, lengthening through the spine. And then easing off the stretch, planting the right hand on the floor. We're going to lift the left hand up, opening up on this left hand side. And looking up to the left fingers, you can use the right foot, top of the foot on the floor to help with the balance here. And then bringing that hand back down, I'm going to bend through the left leg, stretching up first, and then bringing the hands down by the sides, opening up in the chest and the shoulders, horse riding posture. Taking a full cycle of breath here, and then planting the hands down. I'm going to tuck the right toe, lift the right knee, and this time we're going to send it back into plank. So checking your alignment in your plank, shoulders over wrists, engaging through the core, feeling that sense of hugging the front body into the back body. And we're just going to hold it here for 3, 2, don't worry if you've got a little tremble, and 1, bringing the knees down. And you might want to send your knees wide, so keeping the feet together and opening up in the knees, and then we're going to do another extended child's pose. So it just creates a little bit of space for your body to come into when we open the knees up. And melting the chest, the head, coming down to the floor. And you can take the same adaptations here. using the hands for a pillow, if that's helpful. And just taking one more cycle of breath. And then slowly walking your hands up towards your legs, coming back up to a seated position, bringing the knees back together, and take the feet to one side or other so you can come round to a seated posture and coming forward a little bit so you've got that space behind. Fabulous. Okay, so bending the legs, they don't need to be super tight into your body, just a little bit bent in. You're going to keep the left leg where it is and bring the right foot onto the left thigh. So it's going to be crossing over where your ankle is. So your right knee is coming out to the side. We're going to flex through that right toe. And you might find that you can kind of bend that leg in a little bit. If that feels quite challenging, bring the hands behind and you can actually walk your hips towards your foot. So the key here is keeping a nice straight back. So don't go so far in that you're kind of lying down. But keeping a straight back, bring the hips as close to that left foot as you can. And feel this really nice stretch through the right glutes. So this is a seated pigeon posture. And you're going to breathe into that stretch. So inhale, lifting up, keeping that nice straight spine. Exhaling, maybe breathing into those glutes where that stretch is. You might find that you want to edge a little bit further in, but remember, keeping that integrity in the spine. And one more cycle of breath here. And then moving the hands back first. Bring the hips away so that you can come out the same way that you came in. Going to stretch both legs out, just give them a little bit of a shake up and down, from side to side. And then bending the legs sort of gently in again. You can do the same on the other side. So lifting the left leg, bring the left ankle to sort of mid-thigh, maybe just a little bit closer to the knee. Left knee's coming out to the side. You can bring the hands behind and using the hands to walk the hips in towards that right foot. So you really feel that stretch in the left glute. And keeping the spine as straight as possible. So you don't want to be leaning back here. If you're leaning back, maybe take the hips a little bit further away. And flexing through that left foot. We're going to use the breath here. Inhaling, keeping that length in the spine. Exhaling into any tightness you can feel in that glute. Try not to be dumping too much weight down through your hands. So using the fingers to take the pressure out of the wrists here. And one more cycle of breath. And then bringing the hands back a little bit so you can bring the hips back, coming out of it the way we came in, releasing the legs, stretching both legs away, having a little bit of a shake up and down, side to side in the legs. Okay, fabulous. I'm going to take a seated posture again, so cross-legged seated posture that we had at the beginning. I'm going to inhale, reaching both arms up to the ceiling, looking between the hands, and then I'm going to exhale, twist to the right hand side. So left hand comes to right knee, right hand comes behind, and feeling that sense of twist. Inhaling, lengthening through the spine, exhaling, maybe finding a little bit more twist, looking over the right shoulder. And then inhaling, we're going to come back to center, reaching the arms up, gaze coming up between the hands, and then exhaling to the other side, left hand behind, right hand to left knee. Inhaling, lengthen through the spine. Exhaling, finding that twist. And then inhaling, reaching both arms back up to the ceiling. Exhaling, slowly bringing the hands down to touch the mat. Fabulous. Thank you so much for joining me today for your practice. Both hands together to prayer position in front of the chest. And we close the practice by saying Namaste. Thanks so much for sharing your practice with me today. If you enjoyed it, do give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know how you found it in the comments below. See you again soon.